Welcome to the latest episode of Accidental Business Owners. The premise of the show is that 18 months ago, Seamus and I left our full-time 9-to-5 jobs to go all in on the podcast and the other businesses we were building alongside it, and thought it might be interesting to document our journey. We enlisted the help of a business and mindset coach, Di Foster, and thought recording the live coaching conversations we had might be entertaining and insightful for the listeners. On this episode, I talk about my experience on the Icehouse's Owner Management Program. It's a 5-block course and I've just completed block 1. I talk about all of the things I learned and my experiences on it. We also talk about how we're building culture in the reflections business and one of the unique ways we're doing it in a WhatsApp chat. Keep an ear out for the listener question brought to you by Xero. And a reminder, Accidental Business Owners is sponsored by Icehouse. And if you're a business owner who's looking to grow, connect with other ambitious owners and work alongside some of the best in the business, you need to check out the Icehouse's Owner Management Program. So it's 5 months of learning alongside other business owners, challenging how you operate and getting the tools to grow, not just the business, but yourself as a leader. As I said, I'm currently on the course. It's a game changer and I can't recommend it highly enough. If you're running a business and want to push it to the next level, check out the program that has helped hundreds of Kiwi business owners achieve more. To find out more, go to theicehouse.co.nz/OMP.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Di, how's it going?
Good. I feel like I'm sitting across from somebody entirely different than I did last
come
time.
on, Di, come on. No. What are you getting at?
Oh, I just think you're in a different place. That was all.
Oh, yeah.
Like in a really good way.
Yep.
Do you feel like, that was 5 weeks ago, lots changed in that time?
Lots changed. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do feel like I had quite a fundamental shift from getting back after that Christchurch trip. Yeah, it was a whirlwind of, I don't know, a culmination of like life and work and family, and it all sort of came to a head. Bouncing out of it, I've got real clarity, I think, on where to prioritize my time, like we've spoken about. And
so good.
Part of it is kind of like we've said for the longest time, like you don't know what you don't know. And
You really don't know what you don't know.
Beginning to know things like at the very beginner level, but I am knowing things that I didn't know previously. And a big part of it is the work that I've been doing with you. I think Shay and I have both been growing a lot together. And I think sometimes we don't realize how fast we are growing. I think back to where we were 12 months ago. And
do you remember when you used to work out of home?
Yeah, not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
And not that long ago, Shay was off traveling around the islands and he was sort of like part-time, and, things have just moved very nicely at quite a speed, but I feel like I've got a handle on. Well, I feel like we both do.
Yeah. I'm really loving, I'm coming to Hamilton more often, and I'm really loving the vibe that gives us in terms of me being here, but also you guys not doing so much travel. That feels really good.
That's a huge thing, is time, right? Like that is, I think that was at the crux of all of the issues, is time. Like,
always.
Where do you put your time? And so we'd been traveling to Auckland once a week for the last 5 years, and that's a huge amount of time. And it's 2 hours there and it's 2 hours back, and it's hanging around. And now we're building a studio in Hamilton, and guests, like epic guests, are coming to us. So we step aside from our desk and we're recording for 90 minutes or 2 hours, and then we're back. And I'm back home with my family in the morning and my family at night. And like, what a game changer that is. It's taken us 6 years to get here, but like, holy shit, me and Shay were talking about it the other day, like, this is awesome.
Awesome. We love that. What else have you been up to?
Well, I have been on the Icehouse Owner Management Program, which is their marquee program for business owners. And Icehouse came on board as a sponsor of this show towards the start of the year, I think about March or April. And the alignment was, these conversations that we're having are exactly what they are wanting to promote. It's the struggle of the business owner. It's the lonely road. It's, where can you go for advice? Like, we are providing what they are teaching. So we had all these conversations with them, and they came on as partner. And part of the package was I got to go on the owner management program. which is 5 blocks away from home for 3 days at a time. The one I'm doing is a travelling workshop. So there's one in Christchurch, there's one in Queenstown, there's 3 in Auckland. And I finished my first block 2 weeks ago. And it's going to be a pretty transformative thing.
Tell me why.
Well, there's 22 owner managers on it. And so to qualify for the program, your business that you manage needs to be doing over 3 mil in annual revenue. Mm-hmm. So it's $36,000 to go on the course. So to qualify to get in, you need to be a certain type of character. And this group is cool. There's 22 owner managers on my one, and they're from construction and civil engineering. There's cafe owners, real estate agents, family business owners who've inherited family businesses, Jenny and Homes franchise owners, Kim Wash, such a diverse and different mix of people. Ages sort of 30 to 60. I'm kind of in the middle, but a cool group of people who are just trying to grow and improve. And there's like expert speakers that come in, and it sort of teaches you everything you need to know about being a business owner. So I've one of 5 blocks, right? So a big part of it is the connections that you make. And so there is a lot of sort of team building stuff, and each night you go for dinner and you socialize. I think a lot of the gold is actually in the connections that you develop on the course and the conversations you have outside of the program, because everyone's been taken away from wherever they are for 3 days. So it's really cool. Like I'm 1 down, 4 to go, but I've made a bunch of notes of some of the things I took from the first course.
Just on that note, I think you've heard me talk about my bestie Debs, who's got a business, and we've been friends for about 5 years. We met on a business course, and we have stayed friends for I think it's about 6 years now. So I totally get you. Quite often, the most valuable thing we get out of some sort of course is the actual people that we're doing it with.
And in the last batch of episodes we recorded, I sort of spoke about, part of the reason that I broke down, if you want to use that word, with you and Shay is because you understood, right? And I felt comfortable. And so here I am on this place, and everyone understands. And the common theme is, fuck man, it's hard. Like everyone's struggling, everyone's dealing with the same thing, everyone's struggling to turn off at night when they get home and shut the tabs down on their hand. Everyone's got cash flow problems and issues in their different businesses. And so
everyone's
it's so
trying to spend
relatable.
More time with family.
Yeah.
We're so not unusual, are we? It's just
no, it's that relatability and that community that builds around it. And it's amazing the conversations that fall out in those evening sessions over dinner or a few drinks. It's just
I get that the connections are really important, but I'm also guessing that some of the content has left an impression on you.
Yeah, it has. So I made a few notes. So again, I've only done 3 days of 15. We had a marketing expert, Sarah Wooten, who was really good. She came in, did a 3-hour session on brand and values. And one of the things she wrote on the board in sort of bold was, brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And everything, obviously, I'm thinking back to reflections and Between Two Beers. Yeah. And it's I think we're in a really good place on that. I think people say good things about Between Two Beers podcast when we're not in the room.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But she also spoke about the importance of staying connected.
Can I just interrupt? But it's also, go back to what she said. She said it's what they say about you when you're not in the room. One of the things that would be really interesting to know is what is said. I think they do say really good things about you, but I wonder what it is that is said.
Yeah. How would you find that out?
Well, I think we're sitting here with accidental business owners blaring up on the screen. That's where that, like I say, I coach accidental business owners. That's where that came from. I went back to clients and people that were having conversations about me and said, what is it that's common about you all? So you ask. Yeah. I think some of the things you could probably guess, but it's, when we're talking earlier about brand and things like that, that is one of the things is what people are saying. It gives you your biggest insight. But anyway.
Yeah. She also spoke about the importance of staying connected to your partners and making them feel special. I think this is a part, I made sort of furious notes on this, and I look at our path again, things have moved fast, and it has been a part that's easy to overlook is with the partners that we have is making that real effort to go over and above, like such an important piece, which I don't feel like we had always like hit the mark on.
That's probably worth another discussion, isn't it? Because that's a big part of the focus that's been over the last couple of months, hasn't it? Around sales and sponsorship and strategic partners.
Yeah.
We should chat to Che about that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe in the next episode. Who knows?
We'll put that on the list.
Liz
Just
Wallace.
one moment, please.
All right, Di, time for a little pause. We have a listener question brought to you by Xero, your business supercharged.
These are fast becoming one of my favourite things.
Oh, they're good, eh?
I love them.
Yeah.
They're great.
You should just do a listener questions.
Yeah.
Okay, the question is, what's a piece of business advice you've ignored but now realise was actually right?
There's two that come to mind. The first one is timing. So often in business, things, or actually just in life, things come down to timing. And even if you want it, it's just if it's not the right time, it's not the right time. I think about that with my business for 5 years. I was really happy working. No, I wasn't. I just called my own bullshit then.
Yeah.
For 5 years, I wanted my business to grow. But what was a greater priority was being the primary caregiver for my son. And I think that when I look back at it now, I think how much time and energy did I waste kind of in the wanting phase when I was the one actually holding my business back because I just wasn't prepared to work full time.
Yeah.
So now I look back and think, oh my God, it all happened in perfect timing. Like when, just as my son was about to start high school, I went, oh my goodness, next year I'm going to go back to work full time. And then everything snowballed from there. And I might have gone on a podcast, but anyway, that's another story for another day. That's my first one. What about you?
I think it was probably from Seamus, reluctant as I am to say that he had a good idea. My chaotic way of operating worked for me in a one-person shop, and he was always talking about structuring my weeks differently and batching and, having like better organization, and I kind of poo-pooed it. And now I realize that is definitely the only way to go, and that is how I get my time back by, not working so much, being smarter about where I'm putting my time.
That's super interesting because that is something Dave Wood and I argued about constantly for about 6 months. He was like, Di, you want me to be super organised and structured. I'm never going to do it. And I said, well, that's the only way your business is going to grow. Guess what? He is super structured and organised. And he goes, I just didn't see how that could actually make it all better, but it does on so many levels. The other one for me is around looking after yourself. I think that when we're in the midst of, like some imbalance, when work's really full on and we're getting stuff done and we're loving it, it's like, we just keep thinking we can just keep going. And my grandfather would say that tight is tight and too tight is broken. And for me, what that means is, when you're tightening up a bolt, it's like, it's tight and then you just push it that extra little far and it all sort of falls apart and it breaks. And I think we are like that. And unless we learn to oscillate and look after ourselves, it is going to come undone. So that would be my thing. Just looking after ourselves. As much as we don't like it at the time, there's no point unless you're looking after yourself.
Another good segment from Xero.
Oh,
favourite part of the episode.
Favourite part of the episode.
Try Xero free for 30 days on Xero.com. Terms apply. Thanks to Xero for those questions. Liz Wotherspoon did a session on people and practices, and the part that hit home hardest for me in that one was the importance of courageous conversations. And I mean, this is everywhere. It's like, she says, like, there's two options when there's an issue, and it's like ignore it or have an explore conversation. And I know Eat the Frog, you love that term, and it's kind of like eat the ugliest one first. Yep. And it's how often do I divert away from tough combos instead of addressing it? And every time you have a tough one, how much better does it feel afterwards?
Why do you think you might avoid those conversations in the first place?
Just because they're difficult, just because you're not sure how the other person is going to respond and what might happen as a result, I guess.
What happens if you don't have it?
Well, it becomes a bigger problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're picking short-term pleasure over avoiding short-term pain.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just worth kind of like just really – you're right. I think that they're uncomfortable. Like they're uncomfortable to start, they're uncomfortable to be in, and sometimes they're super uncomfortable once they're finished. And so it's just the general avoidance of that. However, not having them is greater pain at some point in time.
Totally.
Yeah. It's interesting, eh? Even though, so the thing that I'd like you to keep remembering is when you have those, what did she say it was called? Like, was it curious conversations or courageous? Courageous conversations is, what I think is worth noting is whenever you have them, that they didn't go badly. Like, start accumulating the evidence that it's a good idea to have them.
Yes. And I think a lot of the time I build these things up as I see them as like a cloud that's hovering over me, and until I address it, it's always going to be there. And when I actually do address it, it's never as big as I make it out to be.
So why do we do that? Like, I literally have had something on my to-do list for 3 days as like the number one most important thing. And I've done number 2 and number 3 every time to try and avoid it. And it's not even that big a deal. So why is it that we do that sometimes?
It's because it's difficult. Like I had a really good example this week, right? I had an admin week and there's been one thing, and it's because it's really legal and it's looking through contracts and it's trying to understand quite complex like IP law and things, which is way outside of my lane, but I need to know it in order to understand it. And in the end, it was a really easy conversation, but I just built it up into be this big thing that it wasn't. And then you get to the other side and you have that conversation and you're like, why did that consume me for a whole week? Like, it's fine.
A friend of mine says that she runs for the future version of herself. She says nobody runs for the now version of yourself because it's horrible. She said, but man, the future version of myself really appreciates the fact that I've been for a run. Yeah. I love that. Right. What else?
Yeah, so many examples of that.
So many examples.
Liz she was chatting about managing performance in your team and the importance of giving feedback, good and bad, even just the power of saying thanks and rewarding what you want to see more of. Again, like this one, I was like, how many in our team, how often are we giving them good performance reviews of what they're doing, and to flip it, when someone thanks you for a job, like how much does it mean to you and how easy it is to do, and why I'm too busy to, communicate well with someone in your team. Like that's a really easy one.
Do you often think about your team and what their, I'm going to say love language, but what their language is that they like to hear things in? Do you think about that at all?
No.
Yeah, it's well worth thinking about, because like if we talk specifically about love languages, it's like, some people like words of affirmation, like good job. Some people like, the odd coffee. It's like that's their language. Some people just like, and if you do something for them, they're like, wow, thank you. It's really worth knowing what somebody's languages of appreciation, because I know that with my EA, I know that at the end of the week, if I just give a summary and go, oh my God, great job, it's like, man, I feel like I might as well have just given her a massive bonus, because she just laps it up and she loves it. Yeah. And I think that's just understanding who you're dealing with.
Yeah. And taking the time to spend time with your people. Yeah. So a good example she gave was like ask your staff what their happiness or satisfaction level is out of 10. So they might say 6. And then you say, okay, well, what would it take to go from 6 to a 10?
Yeah.
Like a really good way of, if I'm here, then what is it about it that can fill that gap?
I think it's also important to note that if you ask Shay that, he'd never be above an 8. So don't even bother trying.
That's true.
You're wasting your time. Just thought I'd help you out there, Steve.
She also spoke about like culture eating strategy for breakfast, which I liked.
Oh, say that slowly.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yep.
And it made me again reflect, what culture are we developing at both between 2 beers and reflections, and how intentional are we being about it? And I've got a really good example of the reflections team, what we're doing, which I think has been really effective. So we have a team there's probably about 10 of us in this thread that are all doing like different bits and pieces from everyone from different cities and different countries around the world. So we can't bring everyone together. It's really difficult. But we have this WhatsApp thread, and we had the idea so part of reflections is what you do is, say it was your dad's story we were capturing, we would ask you for 10 parts of his life, 10 focus areas, and then we would talk about them with him in the recording. So we're like, well, let's do that for ourselves. Like, let's get to know each other in this group. So we've been taking turns of going through our life stories with our 10 focus areas. So if this reflections was on us, these are the things that I would talk about. And I sort of got the ball rolling with a quick fire sort of 3-minute one, but it's evolved. People have bought into the idea, and there's been like 20, 25-minute ones, and they are so rich. And I have learned so much about all of these people, Seamus included. Like Seamus, I learned so much about Seamus that I didn't know in his like 20-minute reflection of the focus areas of his life. And the same with all of these people, and we all feel so much more connected. There's like Susan McFadden and Staffy and Kerry and Kaylee and all these people I kind of felt like I kind of knew, and I didn't know at all, because when do you take the time?
I feel like this is a friggin' mic drop moment. Like, that is really impressive. Like, you take the very core of the business and you like do it inside out. That's really clever.
It's like we have acknowledged in the thread how special and unique it is, and that everyone's bought into it. Because again, like me and Shay are comfortable sharing like this, but others aren't. Mm. People have been in tears, like telling their stories and feeling maybe for the first time that they're telling it. And for us, it puts you in the position of the people who we are interviewing. Yeah. So it's like we're going through the process. The
empathy level. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and when I think about culture, like what are we building there? We're building a culture of people that really know each other and love each other and care for each other. And
then are caring for their communities and caring for their clients and and it's just this natural progression of what the whole intention.
Yeah. And so while it is hard with a new startup business and there's teething issues and all sorts of things, it feels like we've got this pretty strong core of people that are all, I don't know, paddling in the same direction.
And it just wouldn't have been the same if you had have done a team building exercise, would it?
Well, that's what we're spitballing at the start. It's like, should we get everyone together on like a Teams call and have a family thing? And it's like, no, I think this is the way to do it. So yeah, that's
super clever.
Yep.
I think that's impressive.
Yep.
Love it. Love it.
We had a good chat about why we exist. So there was a sort of diagram Liz drew up, and it's like a lot of people focus on the what and the how, but the why is the most important. And so we all go through and think about like, what's the why of our business? It came from a Simon Sinek sort of talk he did.
Start with why.
And for us, it was like to improve the lives of Kiwis through storytelling. Yep. And for reflections, it's because one day the stories will stop. And I feel like we had been through this process of why, and it boils down to, well, what we do is improving the lives of our listeners through the podcast, through the long form, through ABO, Ambassadors Entertainment. It's just like...
I just want to... I like your why because it's super simple. You haven't tried to make it really convoluted and complex and everything else, because quite often with the Simon Sinek's, start with why stuff, is that people make it quite complicated. Like somehow the more complicated it is, the more important their business is. And it almost stops them from moving forward, or they won't move forward until they really, really understand their why. And sometimes I think there's this juxtaposition of just like, keep moving, you'll figure it out. Because one of the reasons I think that your why has become so almost inherent in everything you do is because you've been doing it for so long. So you didn't try and figure it out before you started. You kind of and I think that's really important just from a listener point of view.
The other thing is you do these sort of group exercises, and it just gives you, there's one where you go through a maze and you got to do it yourself, and then you're standing on the outside and you're advising people, and if you like stand on the wrong square, you got to go back to the start. And it's an example of how much easier it is when you're sort of outside looking into the business, onto the business, than being inside, and how much harder it is when you're actually in there trying to navigate it. And a few just a really good, clear examples like that of like the value of stepping back. And it's like the dance floor versus the balcony, and like looking down instead of always being in it, which I kind of know, but like some really just, it was really, I don't know, the way my brain works, some of those examples like clicked.
Yeah, I like that. It is really, I think it's, the value of coaching, the value of advisory, the value of mentoring is a lot of that. It's like somebody outside that day-to-day stuff that just sort of offers some insight, I guess.
Yeah. And the other thing is just like, even on the day one or day two, like the connections with the people, it's like-minded people that think in a similar way are so strong. And I have heard from other people, other alumni of the OMP, like lifelong connections in their WhatsApp groups, or are still thriving 10, 15 years later, whatever. And we're 3 days in, and I'm like, by the end of it, the next one is in Christchurch in a week's time, and it's like I'm really looking forward to it. I assume, and I feel like everyone is, so it's just good vibes. And then the last day was Know Your Numbers. So Matt Bellingham, who Shay did a financial course with too. What a entertaining way of
a dry subject.
Talking, finances. So the big one that I took away from him was like strategy, execution, financial plan. So strategy is like, where is your business now? What is your business now? And what do you want your business to be? So it's kind of like the gap in between. Execution is the task, like how are we going to get there? And then the financial plan is the budget. So you need those three things, and it kind of just clarified, what actually strategy is. We also and I got a little bit lost, to be honest, in some of the stuff. It was balance sheets and economies of scale and breaking down the P&L and two types of assets, current and non-current. My language is the written word in English, and I was trying my best to hang in there. And I mean, some of it did. I took some pretty furious notes, but some of it I sort of struggled with. So yeah, there's a lot there. There's balance sheets and economies of scale and breaking down the P&L and two types of assets. And yeah, I would say there's a very base level understanding of some of it. But hey, I've got 4 more blocks to learn from.
And also, I think with the numbers side of things, one of the things that we've talked about in the past is that, your business is a little bit different. So, hone in on what it is that you need to know for your business, which I'm sure you'll do.
Yeah. So, looking forward to it. I figure in each block I can sort of, we can have a chat like this about what I've learned.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I'm getting a lot from it, and part of what I want to do is encourage others to go on it because it's awesome.
It's been super interesting listening to your takeaways, like the bits and pieces that you've got from the course. The key takeaway for me that I've heard you say is around courageous conversation. I think if there was one thing that you were going to tuck away to go, I'm going to remember that, because it's like what we talked about, it's that procrastination part, and then we have a week's worth of cognitive load where we just could have eaten that ugliest frog first. And it's like the freedom in the next week.
Yes, totally, 100%. And the other one is being connected to both partners and team at both ways of like the importance of like knowing your team and like commending them and being there for them. And also the other side is the partners and over delivering and making them feel special and actually, being special.
I really like that. So I'm going to just summarise that because I think it's important. One of the first things we talked about was the frog. I think that's a really good key takeaway. The second one was relationships and all that means. The third one, which I just feel like I'm going to put on your list, even though you're actually like the mic drop moment is actually the example that you gave, is around culture. I think that's super clever. I can't reiterate that enough. I think that's super clever what you've done there. I'm super proud of you. And the fourth thing is revisit the numbers.
Yeah. Figure out what a liability is.
It's a juggle, isn't it? Like you're on a 3-day course and you're like, we're going to, that's it. We're just going to do this. And then in the back of your mind, you're like, but just on that last day, I've got to zip off and do an MC. Hard to be in 2 places at once. So
it is hard to be in 2 places at once. But no,
love your work.
Thank you.
And super proud of not the way you've bounced back, but the way you've grown forward.
Thanks, Diane. No tears on this one too. Look at me.
I'll give you a good punch.
See you next time.
See you, mate.